All right, we're moving on to black. We're going to probably have to pick up the pace because I don't know if I have that much time left today, but we're going to see what we can do. Serene Advocate is a 4-mana black 2/2 enchantment creature spirit. It has flying. For a single black, regenerate Serene Advocate. Okay, it's a 4-mana 2/2 flyer. Not amazing, not bad. And then you add black, regenerate. Pretty good. I quite like this card, actually. I think it's really cool. Where others fear to tread will bring justice. Liliana Vest said that. Oh, okay, Liliana. What kind of justice are you considering? Silver Quill Amulet is a 3-mana black enchantment aura. Enchant creature. When Silver Quill Amulet enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on enchanted creature. Huh. I mean, this is 3-mana sorcery speed, put a 1/1 counter on target creature, right? Except you could bounce it? Like, instead of being a sorcery, it's an enchantment, which means you could bounce it. It means it's a permanent for that. Like, we were talking before about that other card that cares about you having like only permanents in your deck, so that the like you flip the top card of your deck and put it into the battlefield and it will never miss because it'll never hit a non-permanent. So it's like, this card's bad. I'm really trying to make it work. I don't think so. To make a sign of protection, he must wear it. To wear it, he must need it. Notes of Harim's Astral Archive. Alright. Glass Casket. I like that name. That's a good name. Glass Casket is a 3-mana black enchantment. When Glass Casket enters the battlefield, create 2/2 black zombie creature tokens with Decayed. Huh. Okay, so Decayed was a keyword from the most recent visit to Innistrad. Midnight Hunt. They released 2 Innistrad sets next to each other. It was in Midnight Hunt. I don't think it was ever in Crimson Vow, which were the 2, but whatever. So 3 mana for 2/2/2s. That's not bad. That's like pretty good for tokens. But they have Decayed, and Decayed means they can't block, and when they attack, they get sacrificed at the end of combat. Which still gives them use case. There's definitely some use case for that. And the fact that it's an enchantment means you could flicker this somehow. You could... again, it matters if you wanted to have all permanents in your deck instead of having some creature, instead of this being a sorcery. And I guess it could technically matter if you had something that cared about how many enchantments you control, because that comes up sometimes. I think this card's fine. I don't think it's good. Like, if they just made 2/2 black zombie creature tokens, I think this would be a fine spell. I don't think it needs that nerf of them being decayed. But, okay, sure. Why not? The Patriarch held an inquisitive and occasionally permissive gaze at his environs. Generally, you want them just to sacrifice them. You have like other effects that need bodies to sacrifice. So you really don't care that they're decayed. So it ends up being fine. Walking Scorch Beast. Everyone wants fire. It's like this ice theme set. Everyone's got fire right now. I guess you need it to compete against the ice, but still, it feels weird. Walking Scorch Beast is a 2-mana black 2/1 insect with flash. When Walking Scorch Beast enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Ooh, I like this card. Instant speed, artifact or enchantment removal, which is useful. For 2 mana, nice. And it leaves a 2/1 on the battlefield. Yeah, that's great. For the next hour, what you create burns hotter. Okay. Yeah, sure. I guess it's like, the idea is that Flavorfully like when Scorch Beasts are around, things burn hotter in the vicinity of where they were for an hour. Okay. Frozen Shaper is a 2-mana black 2/2 enchantment creature Nephilim. Ooh. It's just like a creature type you don't see very often. It's fun. Creatures you control have flying. Oh. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, exile the top card of your library face down. Huh. So 2-mana 2/2, all creatures you control have flying is a busted effect. That's super strong. That's super strong. Okay. The next line is technically a downside, though. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, it's like milling one, except for you don't get to turn it into an upside, right? Often this is what happens, is you see something where it's like, oh yeah, the downside is that this will mill you every turn, which means you could technically die to milling out your deck, right? But oftentimes you're like, I don't care, I'm not going to die from mill. Now I just have more options in my graveyard. So the fact that this exile stuff instead of milling stuff means you can't turn that into an upside, so it's pure downside, which it needs to be because this is such a strong card already. Is it able to be enough of a downside? Probably not. I feel like if this was a card in standard, like in a standard, it would probably be a staple. It seems really strong to me. So maybe you'd see a lot of mill decks where it's like, oh, you're gonna play Nephilim? Cool, I'm gonna mill you out as hard as I possibly can because I get to really make that downside of your deck relevant instead of it being just kind of consequential. Who cares? Because people always say, right, like milling is not a down, like doesn't matter unless it kills you. Because that card could have just been on the bottom of your deck and you never drew it, right? Now it's different if you have like tutors in the the standard in the format. There we go. Tutors, which I'm sure most of you know what this is, but since we're on the topic of explaining myself, tutors being the term for cards that find other cards, lets you search your deck for a specific card, coming from the tutor cycle, which are cards that are demonic tutor or vampiric tutor, and they did that effect. Anyway, I digress. This is too strong, but is it too strong for AI Magic? I think I'm gonna keep it. There's even like flying hate in this set, so giving your stuff flying might even be a liability. I'm into it. I think it's cool. In a way, Mephala was raised on Thassa's ice flows. In a way? What does that mean? Was she or was she not? Hallowed Ground is a 2-mana black enchantment. Enchant land. There's a bunch of enchant lands now! What? This is cool! Enchanted land has tap, add 1 mana of any color. This is the exact same card. This is a functional reprint, except for it's in black instead of blue. Was the other one 1 mana or 2 mana? I don't usually check. I think I'm going to this time. If the other one we saw was 1 mana, I think I'll re-roll this. If the other one was also 2 mana, I'm going to keep this. I think that's fun. Like, black and blue are able to do some color fixing, whereas other ones aren't necessarily. But it's weird to have one that is black and one that's not, so. Bonsai, I would love to see a Nephilim-themed set one day. I find them really cool. Yeah. Yeah, I think, actually, that might be a fun set to do. I mean, obviously, I know you're saying, like, in real Magic, it would be fun to see real designers do stuff with them, but Nephilim are weird enough that might be a fun set to try to make on Urza's AI, just because, like Eldrazi Oceans was probably the coolest set that I've made. Or, like, Slivers was really fun. Like, really focusing on a creature type makes for very fun sets, I find, in the time I've done this, so yeah, cool. So it was 1 mana, Acidic Soil, 1 blue, enchant land has tap, add 1 mana of any color. That's kind of a shame. I just think it's kind of cool, the idea of, like, there's two different ways of the ground being affected by, like, Phyrexian influence. One in blue and one in black, and they both have the same effect. But it's pretty silly to have the exact same effect where it's like, oh yeah, blue gets it cheaper. Sorry, black, you have to pay 2 mana. Like, that just seems unnecessarily rude. Like, there's no point to that. But on the other hand, the weird thing about doing AI magic and forging a deck in this way is that black might prefer to have a 2 mana aura that lets them fix their mana their colors than have no fixing, right? Like, that could happen all the time where you're saying, oh yeah, sure, blue gets it for 1 and I get it for 2 and that sucks, but would you rather be able to get it for 2 or not get it at all, right? Because most likely they're gonna not get it at all, and I don't know. I think I will reroll it though. I think I will reroll it. So yeah, Hallowed Ground, 2 mana. I don't know. I'm fine with it. I think the mana, the power level's not so ridiculous that it's unplayable or anything. It just feels weird. Death is no excuse to give up on your beliefs. Don't believe me? Try telling your kids you didn't mean it. Callous Llanowar Archmage. Yeah, well, I don't even know what that means, so no huge loss, I guess. Unyielding Courage. 2 mana, black, enchantment aura. Enchant creature. When enchanted creature dies, draw a card. Boring. Nope. Rerolling that one. The healer fights without thought of the risks to her own safety. The healer fights without... Alright. Doom of Indolence. Indolence? I don't know that word. Doom of Indolence is a 2 mana black enchantment aura. Enchant creature. You control enchanted creature. Whenever enchanted creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. What the heck? The AI just really wants to make 2 mana mind control spells with upside today. A tinderbox from which dreams grow more precious by the day. So weird. Geth's Rebuttal is a 2 mana black enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has black regenerate this creature. And loses enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand. Huh. Wait. Okay, so a couple things about this card. This card's great. First of all, 2 mana, gets +2/+2, and you can regenerate now. That's cool. Especially because I'm not entirely sure. I think that it doesn't lose the aura because it technically never leaves the battlefield. It's when it would leave the battlefield, you untap it and remove all marked damage. So it would get to keep the effect. Pretty cool. Probably a very strong effect if I think about it. I like it. Cool card. Then it says, and loses enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand, which is really funny to me. What's weird about that to me is that if you had a creature which said, like, this creature gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand, or you had an enchantment which was like, enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand, either of those things could exist, but neither of them actually get blanked by this card. Right? Like, because the creature wouldn't have enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand. The card would just have this, like insert creature name gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand. Huh. Now I'm actually unsure. Because the verbiage is weird, right? Like if you had a card called, ever-growing slug thing. Good job, Darcy. And it said ever-growing slug thing gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand. It doesn't read enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand, but it's never going to read that. In fact, it doesn't even really read ever-growing slug thing. It's reading this card gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand, like effectively, right? So does enchanted creature just mean this card, but this card it's referring to is the enchanted creature? Like, I don't think so. And it's also a very specific, narrow situation in which you have a creature that has that effect that you wanted to, like, cast this on, but I don't know, I just find that interesting. I gotta not dwell on it. Geth and his forces broke the ground from which the mighty Auriok sentience thrived. The Auriok sentience? Ooh. Interesting. Alright. Well, that checks out. Prismatic Scrutiny is a 1-mana black instant. Target opponent reveals their hand. You may put a creature card from it onto the battlefield under your control. Reminder text, do this before you look at the cards in your hand. Okay, so is this card super strong? Yes, 1 mana, your opponent discards a creature of your choice, then you just get that creature. You return that creature from their graveyard to the battlefield effectively. Like it's 2 effects. It's cheating a thing out, but it's from your opponent's hand. It's a very strong effect. Very strong ability. The reminder text, do this before you look at the cards in your hand, is very funny. I don't think it means anything that breaks the game, but it also just is a relevant reminder text that doesn't mean anything. So it's funny. Either way, I don't think... I'm tempted. There's a part of me... I love cheating things out. Like, there's a part of me that really wants to be like, yeah, you can't build your deck around cheating out your opponent's biggest thing from their hand because you didn't put big things in your opponent's deck. You can't ensure there's going to be a cool big thing in there. But that's not enough of a downside. If this was like 3 mana, I think I'd allow it. Because, you know, what, 4 or 5 mana is going right for cheating something out of your own graveyard. This is the downside of it being cheated out of your opponent's hand. It's also the upside, though, because they don't have it anymore. It's both a discard and a cheat out effect. It would have to be like at least 4 mana, I think. It seems its shape reveals far more than the light of the prism can. Or does it? Regenerate. Sorry, I ran ahead. Regenerate is a 1-mana black instant. Regenerate only as a sorcery. That's it. I don't know, that tickles me so much. I think that's so funny. It's not even like regenerate target creature. It's not even that. Which would be like, not terrible, not great either. But like, it doesn't even say that. It just says regenerate only as a sorcery. Every species in Geldor's snows has a frozen river. Every species has a frozen river? What? A roaring cascade, a vast and bottomless pond. And yet, none is as far from stillness as the snows of Mirrodin, Nath of the Weatherlight. I guess they mean like metaphorically. Every species in Geldor's snows has a frozen river, a roaring cascade, a vast and bottomless pond. Okay, yeah, I buy it. It's not canon, though. True Name Nemesis. Wait a minute, I've heard of this card. I'm pretty sure I've heard of this card before. True Name Nemesis is a 1-mana black instant. True Name Nemesis deals 2 damage to target creature. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. This card is boring, but has a use case. I'm kind of okay with it. Like, okay, I'm in black. I can use murder and instant speed destroy a creature. Sweet. But that costs 3 mana. This is significantly cheaper. Okay, cool. Also, if this kills it, which of course it's going to kill it, why else would I cast the spell? I guess you might, whatever. Timing windows might force your hand. It gets exiled. That's an upside. So like, yeah, this is worth running. This is a useful spell. It does feel like something that should be in red instead or something, and there's probably better versions of this in red, I would assume. I don't really know. But, yeah, it works. It's also called True Name Nemesis, which is great. Once I tasted your thoughts, and my name was the last thing you felt. Oh, not like once I tasted your thoughts, but like once I tasted your thoughts, and my name was the last thing you felt. There we go. Anax Ugin's Shapeshifter. Alright, yeah, that works. That works. Wait. Snow-covered plain. Okay, I've not even read this card. I just want to talk about this name. First of all, the snowland associated with white would be snow-covered plains, not snow-covered plain. Second of all, it's snow-covered, plain. Which makes me just think of like, this is a snow-covered something that's plain. It's a plain version. It's the plain version of the snow-covered. Snow-covered plain is a 5-mana enchantment. Whenever you cycle or discard a card, target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Huh. So, a few things. This is 5 mana. I don't think it's worth it. But, let's discuss anyway. There is a non-zero amount of cycling in the block. We've seen none in this set specifically, but in the block as a whole, we've seen some. Not much, but some. Discard, on the other hand, there's a decent amount. But, I can't think of... There's a little bit, like all those blue cards we just saw, right? All those blue cards that were like, draw a card, discard a card. That would activate this. But other than the looting effects, I can't think of many. You might be thinking about the like discard deck, which forces your opponent to discard. They're the one discarding, though. You don't discard a card for your opponent. You choose the card, and then your opponent discards it. That's in the parlance of the game. So, okay. I guess we should talk about it in the context of, like, blue. If you wanted to say, cool, I'm going to loot. I'm going to draw a card. I'm going to discard a card. That activates this effect. I get to target a creature. It gets +1/+1 until end of turn. That could add up. Maybe. Probably not enough to matter. Like, if it gave, like, a 1/1 counter, I bet that would be very strong. Probably not too strong for 5 mana. But 1/1 until end of turn. If this was cheaper, I think that I would keep it. I think this is a cool effect. I think it could be good in a cheaper, if it was cheaper. And I think that it could be okay at 5 mana if it was a counter. I don't think it's playable at all otherwise. I think, as much as I am trying to like let more lower power things through, the idea of saying there's more low power things and you end up playing them in limited and you kind of wish you had a better card, but hey, it's the best you can do. That's what I'm trying to hit when I let a low power card through. This, I think you just don't play it even in that situation. I think, yeah. My uncle always told me, a spell in one's hand is like the blade of a sword. You could use it to carve, to slice, and carve. Malchus Carplusan Family Mage. So that's really funny to me. Like, I like the idea of a mage that's like, yes, wizard, you have to be careful. A spell is just like a sword. It can be used to harm, or it can be used to help, right? Like, that's like the spirit of it, but instead they're like, you can use it to like cut things, or you should use it to carve things, man. It's just like, okay, yeah, sure. Everything looks like a nail when all you have is a hammer. That's great. Excellent. Mark of Perfection. Mark of Perfection is a 5-mana black enchantment aura. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from each of the colors. I hate that this is true, but this would immediately fall off of the creature that you enchanted because it is black. If this was a colorless spell, that would be a pretty cool spell. I don't know if 5 mana is enough for that effect, but probably protection's really strong. But no, apparently that's how protection works. If something has an aura on it and it gains protection from the color of that aura, the aura falls off and goes to the graveyard. And that feels stupid to me, but apparently that's the rules. So this would just do nothing. I am still thinking about that one white spell that gave protection from red, blue, black, green. Yeah. But didn't give protection from white, which is just really funny to me. I just really enjoy that, because it's just like, I'll protect you from everything you need protecting from. Everything that's not white. It's like, yeah, that feels like white. But also, later I was told that was relevant. That was necessary to make the card function, not just a cute little flavor thing. And in this case, does not have that functionality. A swordsman and his student stood atop a broken column, looking out over the ice fields of Ula. The sword was his teacher's, a rare and expensive one. Its edges were almost smooth and clean. To learn from this weapon, the master had said, is to learn to be perfect. Yeah, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. All this needs is one line that says, like, excluding this spell or something. I think that's a whole thing. That's Mark of Perfection. Drawn from Dreams is a 5-mana black enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, draw a card. You have no maximum hand size. We did it! That's great. I don't know. It does not feel exceptionally black, but that's great. I don't know if 5 mana is too little, too much. I think it's probably not too little. I think that's a perfectly well-costed... Maybe it's too strong. I don't know. But it's excellent, and I like it, and it's great, and we're gonna use it. Now you are here. Solon, Wanderer. Not as interesting flavor text, though, I'll say that much. Beautiful card, though. Excellent. Really, really like that. It's not even under your control. It's just when a creature enters the battlefield. Oboro Guardian is a 5-mana 4/4 enchantment creature spirit. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Oboro Guardian unless you sacrifice another non-human creature. For 3 mana, return Oboro Guardian to its owner's hand. This is a cool card that has 2 small stats. If this was like, I don't know, 6/6 flyer or something, or a bigger thing, this would be cool. I'd be into this, right? The idea that it's like, it's a little bit bigger, it could fly, because it's a spirit, but then it has this drawback of like, something needs to get sacrificed. Either this or something else. And it can't be humans, it has to be something other that's weird, like a demon or a spirit or something. Yeah, cool. And then you can use it to return to its owner's hand, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. It waits until the winds have turned cold, and then it is gone. Frozen Fiends is a 5-mana 4/4 enchantment creature horror. Menace. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player loses 2 life. Ooh, I like this card. Yeah. Oh, that's fun. That's really cool. Okay. So it's a 5-mana 4/4. Not great. It's got Menace. Pretty okay. Every turn, each player loses 2 life. Now, if you had a card like, I can't remember what it's called, but in one of the Ravnican sets, Rakdos, the red-black faction, had a set mechanic that was based off of if you'd taken damage this turn. It's losing life. I don't know if it would count, actually. It might have been if you had lost life. But anyway, the point was, if you hit yourself, you would end up getting... Or maybe it was if you dealt damage. I might be completely misremembering this. That's not the point. The point is, this would be extra cool if in the set there was, like, payoff for having taken damage in a turn, or having lost life in a turn, I should say. So you turn that downside into an upside, and then you're also pinging your opponent 2 every turn. But, yeah, I mean, it's perfectly playable anyway. I think 4/4 Menace is fine at 5 mana. I don't know what the going rate is, but yeah. Oh, B in chat, oh hi B, welcome in, says it was if you dealt damage, so I'm thinking of a completely different mechanic, but you understand the premise. Alright, let's move on. I like that card. Oh, a secret beyond their grasp. I think I missed that. I don't think I read that originally. Oh well. Shivan Oathsworn is a 5 mana 4/4 enchantment creature Nephilim. Ooh, another Nephilim? Whoa, okay. Whenever Shivan Oathsworn or another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you may sacrifice 2 lands. If you do, Shivan Oathsworn enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it. Okay, wait a minute. Okay. Okay, so first and foremost, 5 mana 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice 2 lands, and if you do, it's a 5/5 for 5. Woo! Not very good. Then it's got, like, a constellation effect. Ooh, it cares about when any enchantment enters the battlefield. That's great. What does the enchantment what does the constellation effect do? When an enchantment enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice 2 lands. If you do, Shivan Oathsworn enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it? Like, it's not entering the battlefield anymore, so it can't get the benefit. It doesn't make any sense at all. Not every bridge across a frigid sea is one built of ice. Not every dream will bear fruit. Not every seed grows in this life. Xiang, General of the Eternals. Sorry, Shivan Oathsworn. You didn't do it. Moonglove Courser is a 5 mana 2/3 enchantment creature nymph. Alright, 5 mana 2/3, better have some good abilities. Flash, enchant creature. It's not that kind of enchantment. Whenever enchanted creature deals combat damage to a player, you may gain control of target artifact. Yeah, sorry. That's just not how that works, because it's a creature. It can't do that. I mean, let's imagine if you could do that. First of all, you'd need to write some new rules, because there's no support for, like, being attached to something, like enchanted onto something, and being a creature at the same time. It just doesn't work. Could you still attack if you were attached to somebody? Like, it doesn't function, right? You'd have to stop being a creature, like Bestow. But even if it did, let's pretend you could. You flash this on, something gains the enchantment. You flash it on, like, right before it's about to do combat damage. Bap, hits the thing, and then you gain control of an artifact? That's kind of cool. Stealing artifacts is not as strong usually as stealing creatures, but you can do some ridiculous things in the right meta. Sure. 5 mana, 2/3. I mean, it's not even a 2/3 now. It's just kind of an enchantment at this point. If this was just an enchantment aura, I guess that's the question. I think it's cool. I don't know if 5 mana's... I don't know what the appropriate cost for that effect would be, if that was worded as just an enchantment aura and it wasn't a creature. I do kind of like the idea that it's just like, oh yeah, it counts as a creature for, like, removal spells, it has health, it can take damage, but otherwise it isn't a creature, like, it stops being able, like, something like this, like, enchantment aura, this counts as a creature with 3 health, like 3 toughness, but can't and cannot attack or block. I think you could actually print a card like that. I think you could do that. This can be targeted as if it was a creature. And you know, goes to the graveyard, leaves the battlefield when it has taken, when 3 damage is marked on it in a turn. Like, right? You could do that. Anyway, that's not what this is. When its bloom closes its petals. When its bloom closes its petals, its slender neck stretches upward and towards the moon. Aquanaut is a 5-mana, 4/4 enchantment creature elemental. On a submarine, no one can hear you scream. It's Aquanaut, the 5-mana vanilla 4/4 enchantment creature elemental. With an aliens reference. Of course, being the dumb nerd that I am, I first heard the reference via Warcraft 3, in which it was in the ocean, no one can hear you scream, ... Well, they can, but it's really muffled. Which I didn't know at the time was a reference to aliens, because I didn't know aliens. But yeah, or alien, I guess, right? Not aliens. Whatever. You get the thing. You understand. I'm re-rolling this. Well, no, I'm re-rolling this. I like vanilla creatures. I want to see more vanilla creatures, but like, I'm not doing a 4-mana 5/5. I mean a 5-mana 4/4. Sunbird Colony. Ooh, that's a good name. Is a 5-mana 3/2 enchantment creature spirit. It's not a bird, and it doesn't have flying. So, yeah. For 2 mana and sacrifice Sunbird Colony, you gain 1 life. For 3 mana and sacrifice Sunbird Colony, you gain 3 life. It's like kind of cute, the idea that you throw down this creature, and then later you can either spend 2 or 3 mana to gain some life back when it was going to die anyway. That's like interesting, but in a way that like isn't like good. And it's not interesting enough. It's just kind of like, oh, there's like maybe some design potential there. These flocking masses of life inspire more questions than answers. Elspeth. Roaring Wyvern is a 5-mana, 5/4 enchantment creature human shaman. Okay, I'm into that. This feels very like, you know, phrase name, Roaring Wyvern, the human shaman. Yeah, that checks out. I can see that. 5-mana, 5/4 with flash and flying. That's not bad. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Roaring Wyvern unless you pay black. You gain 3 life. Okay, dang it. First of all, I don't think it needed a downside. Second of all, you gain 3 life has no trigger. It's not when it enters the battlefield you gain 3 life. It's not at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Roaring Wyvern unless you pay black and you gain 3 life or something. Like, it just has no trigger. So, this was so close. You were so close, Roaring Wyvern. I didn't expect to die in the city. If I'd known I'd never get back, I'd have fought back harder. Malker, clanless berserker. Oh, cool. Pariah. Ooh, please be good. You're a Phyrexian. Pariah is a 5-mana, 4/4 enchantment creature Phyrexian. Somehow, making this Theros-themed set with so many enchantment creatures, it had not occurred to me, enchantment creature Phyrexian. That's so evocative. Oh, I want to see that now. Enchantment creature Phyrexian 4/4. Creatures you control have flying. Tap, put a 1/1 counter on Pariah. I know we let through that stupid card that we shouldn't have. That was like a 2-mana thing that gave all your creatures flying. That was stupid, but whatever. I'm living with my mistakes. But this card, this one works, and I'm very into it. Pariahs hate all eyes that are not their own. Ah! It's a 5-mana 4/4. Creatures you control are flying. Enchantment creature Phyrexian. Though you can also tap to put a counter on it. Why not? Yeah. That's beautiful. That's beautiful right there. Geist Flame is a 6-mana black sorcery. For each opponent, create a token that's a copy of that player's graveyard. Except it's a black zombie in addition to its other types. I mean, this clearly doesn't work, but like, I want to see what would be done with this in an unset, you know? Like, okay, for each opponent, create a token. The token is a copy of their graveyard, so I guess it has like, it's the graveyard. The graveyard is a zone. It's a token zone, right? Full of cards. It's a zone under your control. Like, to me, what this reads as, which is stupid, don't listen to me, but to me what this reads as is 6 mana, you get a token zone, which is a graveyard. It also counts as a zombie, if that matters. It's not a creature, it just is a zombie. And it has a copy of like every card in the graveyard, basically, right? Now, when cards move zones, they disappear if they're tokens, so that wouldn't work, but let's ignore that for now. So when you have a card that's just like, search your graveyard for a card and put it on the battlefield, this would be a second one. You'd have multiple graveyards. You have a token, you have your permanent graveyard zone, and you'd have a token graveyard zone. I can't think of a use case for this, because if you put a card from your graveyard on the battlefield, it would cease to exist because it's a token, I guess? I guess it could activate things where it's like, how many creatures are in your graveyard? That could work. Right? Maybe? This is stupid. The zombie horde grows ever stronger, in direct proportion to the speed with which we kill it. Hortensia, Acolyte of the Umbral Moon. Whatever. Planar Overlords is a 6-mana black sorcery. Create 2 1/1 blue goblin creature tokens. Scry 2. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put any number of them on the bottom and back of the deck. It's called Planar Overlords, and it's a 6-mana spell that makes 2 goblins? Come on! Praetor Kane holds a tattered key, a prison key, from his childhood home of Mulemaster. No one is certain what the key unlocks. Unlocks a prison, come on. Awakening Storm, that's a good name, is a 6-mana black sorcery. Convoke. Your creatures may help cast this spell. Each creature you tap while casting the spell pays for 1 generic or 1 mana of that creature's color. Okay. Awakening Storm deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. It looked so... It had... Come on! Ugh. The Fangjaw Skywalker surged, elbows pinning the Kithkin in the Iron Maw. Its claws swung at the shapeshifter, while the shadows below fled. Adaptive Approach is a 6-mana black sorcery. Target creature you control gets +3/+3 and gains reach until end of turn. This also has cycling too. It's not... If this was an instant, then, like, maybe. Come on, what happened to all those mind control spells? Oh yeah, mind control, that's like a 2-mana effect. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a 2-mana effect. Come on. A seeker seeks, and if it can't find, it shapes. Ooh, that's kind of cool, actually. Heed the Rising Tides is a 6-mana black sorcery. Create 2/2 blue human pirate creature tokens. All pirate creatures get +2/+1 and gain flying until end of turn. Okay! I can work with this, yeah! I don't think we've seen very many pirates, and 6 mana is a lot for this effect, but... Okay! I think this is a card that's useless in Limited, but you could definitely use in Constructed if you were playing, like, all AI, no holds barred commander or something. This could be a really cool, like, finisher. It's a very cool finisher. Heed the Rising Tides, and there's like a surge of like a wave, and all the boats go up and they're effectively flying because they're all above your head because they're on a wave. Like, yeah! That's not really what Rising Tides mean. Don't worry about it. It's fine. This is cool. I like this one. This one works. I don't know what the cost should be, but this is fine. It's good enough. No profit, no fee. Find the wealth of others and collect it. Sir Dovin, gang leader of the Pirates of Fredonia. Fredonia is such a, like, we're gonna be pirates and we're gonna make our own country. It's gonna be called Fredonia. Like, yeah, no, that's, yep, that's, that checks out. That's a very pirate, like, freedom first mentality. It's very good. Alright, let's move on. We spent too much time on that one. Skeletal Ground. Is it going to be enchant another land? No, it's not. Skeletal Ground is a 2-mana black instant. Destroy target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its toughness. Okay. It's just a better version of Murder, but that's fine. It's AI magic. Murder doesn't exist. That's the thing. I keep comparing to Murder as like a baseline. Murder doesn't exist. It doesn't matter. There's no finer treat than the breath of an albino skull. Who could resist? Zubera. Bony Looter. That's really good. Erratic Sentinel is a 3-mana 2/2 fairy rogue with flash. Okay. When Erratic Sentinel enters the battlefield, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. I like this. As much as, like, thematically I feel like this fairy rogue should have flying, I don't think it needs it balance-wise. I think this is fine. Flash is a dramatic, is a significant upside for a 3-mana 2/2. Totally reasonable. And you get a little bit of life drain. Yeah, it's great. It activates life gain if you need life gain for any reason. Nice. Sometimes you gotta make it all on your own. Dio Brancatis? Dio Brancatis. Highwayman. Alright, checks out. Can't argue with that. Bonesaw is a 2-mana black enchantment aura. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1. 2 mana. Return Bonesaw to its owner's hand. This should just be an equipment. This should just be an equipment. Here's a Bonesaw. It's an equipment. It gives you +1/+1, and it's not very good, but you gotta have one in every set for some reason. No weapon can compare to the sharpness of ice. That has nothing to do with this. Is the Bonesaw made of ice? Consulate Authority, is a 2-mana black enchantment. As Consulate Authority enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. As Consulate Authority leaves the battlefield, the chosen type becomes the exiled type of all permanents you control. I I don't think that means anything. I don't think that means anything. Okay, I want to break this down. Yeah. So, first of all, 2 mana for a just creatures of a specific type get +1/+1. I don't know what the going rate for that effect is. I know that's a real effect. I like that effect. I think that's fun. I'm into it. 2 mana might be too cheap for that effect. It's fine. I would definitely allow this. As this leaves the battlefield, I've never seen that wording before. There's as this enters the battlefield, or like this enters with, or something. Like that's a thing. But as it leaves, I've never seen. It's just like when it dies or when it leaves. I haven't seen as it leaves. As it leaves, the chosen type. So as this enters the battlefield, choose goblins. Goblins, or creatures you control of the type goblins, get +1/+1. As Constant Authority leaves the battlefield, the chosen type, which is goblins, becomes the exiled type, whatever that means, of all permanents you control. What is an exiled type? The type itself? Like, does goblins... Okay, this does not what this means. We're all agreeing that this is not what this means, but this is what it has said to me in a way that makes my brain go, ooh, that's interesting. Okay, go with me for a moment. Constant Authority is a 2-mana black enchantment that reads, as Constant Authority enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. When Constant Authority leaves the battlefield, the chosen type becomes exiled. Reminder text, all cards with that type no longer have that type. That type does not exist in this specific match of Magic, right? I don't know how you'd word it. I don't know how you'd word it at all, but just like, it just becomes a void type. It does not exist. If something's like, this gives +1/+1 to goblins, it would be like, cool, there are no goblins. Goblins don't exist. They've all become hollows. Like, that's kind of a cool drawback, because if you're playing a creature type matters deck, right? If you have a deck that's like, I'm playing all goblins and I'm playing Constant Authority, which gives +1/+1 to all my goblins. But if Constant Authority ever leaves the battlefield, my goblins cease to be goblins. Goblin is no longer a type in this match. Like, that is interesting. That is super cool. I think that's cool. You could do that. Magic could do that. And that feels kind of, like, appropriate to Consulate Authority. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna buff you until we, like, leave you. And then it's like, you've burnt that bridge. It's gone forever. Like, that's... I don't know. Maybe that's not... I don't know. I need to move on. The flood that came from its dark mouth carved new paths and gave those paths strength. We have to re-roll this. It doesn't actually function. But... Actually, I guess I should have thought about it more. Did I have to remove that card? Because the first half made sense, and the second half didn't make sense, but it didn't force you to do anything that didn't work. It just was unclear. Oh well, I'm re-rolling it. Thought Not Seizures is a 2-mana black enchantment. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, if that spell's mana value is 1 or less, gain control of target creature. Untap that creature, gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Where was this when you were making 6-mana spells? Huh? Where was this when you were making 6-mana spells? Okay. Yeah, 2 mana, and then from then on, every time you cast a spell that's not a creature, so like any spell slinger cards, any instants or sorceries of 1 mana or less, you know, like your little cheap 1 mana cantrips, gain control of a creature. Forever. It's just yours now. There's not even like an enchantment attached to it that could get removed. It's just yours. With all their disparate forces united, Keldons often fear that their tempers will overheat. I feel like every card we've seen with Keldon on it, which of course was a god in Gods of Winter. I say of course as if I hadn't also forget that. I'm pretty sure I have videos where I'm like, what's Keldon? That reminds me of something. Anyway, I'm ignoring that for now. I think all of the cards with Keldon on them since Gods of Winter have been re-rolled, so whatever. Talrum City. That's a cool name for an enchantment. I'm kind of into that. Like, yeah, as much as it seems like, oh, a city, that should be a land. I don't know. I don't know if lands should be cities, actually. A city is on a land. 2 mana, black, enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, if that creature's controller has no cards in hand, Talrum City deals 1 damage to that player. Huh. That's weird. Okay. I like this. It's cheap enough that it doesn't, like, break the bank to get into play. If you're like, this would be kind of a fun card to play. It might never come up, but yeah, it'll be fun. You throw it into a deck. It's kind of cute. Whatever. So, that's fine. But then also, you could build around this. You could do, like Pursued Whale. Pursued Whale is a card in actual Magic. You play it, and your opponent gains a whole bunch of 1/1 counters, or 1/1 tokens, right? You can give your opponent token creatures, and ping your opponent, because, oh, hey, or what's that one where it's like you have the sword, there's like a knife that makes like shrub creatures for your opponents, or like maybe saplings or something. Anyway, you get the point. Like, there's ways in real Magic to give tokens to your opponent, right? That summons them for your opponent. They enter the battlefield, not just change zones. If they change the zones, that doesn't count, right? Like your battlefield to their battlefield, I mean. Change control, they're in the same zone. Whatever, that's not the point. The point is, you could actually build around this. It also, in the right meta, could be a counter to a certain deck, right? Where you're like, oh, my opponent's playing this like aggro deck where they play out their entire hand. And now I say, Talrum City. And they go, if I play a creature, I'll get pinged for 1. Which is like kind of minor. It's only 1 damage, right? How much damage does a card have to do to be worth 2 mana? I don't know. Probably like 3, I guess? I don't know, 4? The thing about like a lightning bolt is that you have a direct, like, you're casting it, you have control over that damage, so it's different. But I'm ignoring that for now. How much damage does this have to do for it to be worth it? I don't know. But you could counter someone's build by saying, okay, you have to slow down. All they have to do is make sure they save 1 card in their hand at all times, but if they want to be playing their whole hand every turn, I think it's cool. I'm going to keep it. I like it. Our presence is known throughout the sky. There is no magic left in Talrum. And yet, it remains the strongest place of refuge in existence. Reyna the Vivian. The Vivian? Guildmaster of the Talrum Guild. Talrum City sounds cool. I wish this was like a legendary. I don't think it would be mechanically good to be a legendary. So I'm gonna interpret this like the World Tree in Kaldheim, where in Kaldheim there was a card called the World Tree that was a land, not a legendary land. And it was like, people would interpret it like, oh, this is like, the World Tree's so big, 1 land does not cover the entire World Tree, right? You're only getting like an aspect of the World Tree. And that's why you can have multiple copies. And I was like, yeah, I guess that's fair, whatever, that's fine. I'm going to interpret it that way. Because Talrum City sounds like a really interesting legendary city, right? Our presence is known throughout the sky. There's no magic left in Talrum, and yet it remains the strongest place of refuge. Like, yeah, okay. Worlds have collided. There's a ice age going on. There's Phyrexians about. Yeah, we do need a place of refuge. And the magic is gone. And we know about this because we saw the Aether get thawed, right? Thaw the Aether was a, I think it was a white card, right? Where it's just like, magic is melting. Like, okay. Yeah. Yeah. This makes sense to me. I'm belaboring the point. Let's move on. Avenger of Zendikar. I know that card. Avenger of Zendikar is a 1-mana, 1/1 black enchantment creature zombie. Whenever Avenger of Zendikar attacks, you may exile target creature card from a graveyard. If you do, return Avenger of Zendikar to the battlefield transformed under your control. Well, first of all, it never left the battlefield, so I don't think it can return. Second of all, it doesn't have a backside, so we don't know what it transforms into. So I'm going to reroll this. But otherwise, I'm kind of into this. Just like, it's a 1/1 for 1 that when it attacks, you get to like exile something from someone's graveyard. That's useful tech. Yeah, it's a perfectly reasonable effect. He guards the deceased. He defends the living. I kind of didn't want a card called Avenger of Zendikar anyway, so I'm kind of okay with it. Order of the Ever-Blazing is a 1-mana, black, 1/1 enchantment creature spirit. Enchant creature. Dang it, that's not what an enchantment creature does. When Order of the Ever-Blazing enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Not only is it boring, it also doesn't function. My allegiance is ever to the Tajuru, the clan of shamans, the mystics, the sentinels of time, and the living world. Vizier God, Tajuru Captain. Okay. Yeah. Orzhov Guide. Okay, so we previously saw an Orzhov Guildmaster. I don't remember if we kept them or not. I can never keep track of what we keep and what we don't. Orzhov Guide is a 1-mana, 1/1 enchantment creature elf scout. It has Island Walk for some reason. This creature can't be blocked as long as defending player controls an island. I hate land walk, but I'm going to ignore that for now. Whenever Orzhov Guide or another elf enters the battlefield under your control, you may put a card you own from outside the game into your hand. Huh. Okay. I mean, it's a 1/1 for 1. I'm not really that concerned of it having Island Walk. I don't like Land Walk, but it's a 1/1. I'm not that concerned with it. We have literal unblockable things in the game. The fact that one color or a subset of decks is unblockable to those decks, but not to other decks, is kind of moot, I think. So I'm going to just ignore that. The other effect, okay, it rewards you for having an elf. It's like drawing a card when it enters the battlefield, which is already strong. But instead, you get to draw a card from outside the game, which means you get to choose any card in your sideboard. Sideboarding is a practice of, in most formats, you have, I think, 10 cards, that are in your sideboard. You're allowed to swap them out between games if you're playing, like, best 2 out of 3 kind of thing. But it's also what we refer to when we mean outside the game. Apparently, also in, like, casual formats, you could play with it being your entire collection, but that's just not practical, so generally people play with a sideboard. So, I think it's cool. I think it's too strong, but not too strong for AI Magic. So I'm okay with it. We haven't really seen any elves or elf payoff in this set. We've seen some in the set in the block as a whole, though, so I think there's going to be enough support for it. I'm into it. It's cool. We're being invaded by elves, and it's your fault. I want to know who said that. Like, it's not the Orzhov Guide that said that. I mean, that's what you would do with this, right? You'd be like, I'm going to play Orzhov Guide. I'm going to pull from my sideboard an elf, and I'm going to play it. And then it's going to draw me a card from my sideboard. And it's an elf, and I'm going to play it. Yeah, you're being invaded by elves. That's excellent. That's so good. Frozen Lich Lord is a 3-mana, 3/2 enchantment creature spirit. Liches are usually zombies, which is, as many people like to point out, not really appropriate for liches, but one of the things I actually really like about Magic is that it has its mechanical typings, and those are more important than, like, your personal definitions of things. I think that's interesting. Whenever a creature you control dies, if it had no +1/+1 counter on it, you gain 1 life. Okay. Oftentimes, the, like, restriction of not having a counter on it has to do with, like, when something dies, if it doesn't have a counter, put a counter on something else or something, and so then, like, you can't go infinite with that. But, like, this is just kind of an arbitrary restriction. But life gain's a big deal. Like, there's a lot of life gain payoff. I don't remember if there's any in black. There might be. I can't remember. In the set as a whole. I don't know if we've seen any in this block. In the block as a whole. I don't know if we've seen any in this set. We've seen, obviously, some, we saw that payoff card in blue. But in just mono black, I don't know if you'd have any. But it's a consistent thing. And 3 mana for a 3/2 is not bad. With the upside of whenever a creature you control dies, you get 1 life. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. In a realm without emotion, there can be only rage. Rage is not an emotion, I guess. Niv Mizzet Parun is a 4 mana, 3/2 black dragon wizard. It's a legendary creature. I skipped over that. It's a legendary creature. Yeah! That's the thing, is that, like, when you're basing it off these older sets, there just are less legendaries. So, I like legendaries. It's kind of a shame. But that's cool. Niv Mizzet is a legendary dragon. They're the namesake of the Izzet, the blue-red faction in Ravnica, and they are a dragon wizard. So, AI kind of nailed it so far. Let's see how this goes. Niv Mizzet Parun, 4 mana, 3/2, legendary creature, dragon wizard with flying. For 2 mana, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. That's very strong. That's very strong. Yeah, I'll allow it. It's not so strong I won't allow it, but it's very strong. Also, once again, Niv Mizzet is red-blue. It doesn't belong here, but we already saw like a blue card that with the Orzhov Guild Mage, Orzhov is black-white, and it's in blue, so like, the colors are all messed up. Don't worry about it. It's not relevant. I just think it's fun. The chaotic echoes of 1,000 throats ring from the cold void, their empty, icy roars leaving only echoes in the darkness. Cool. Cool. Pyrokinesis. More fire. Pyrokinesis is a 3 mana, 2/2 enchantment creature god? Wait. Alright. Black can be paid with any 1 mana or with black from a booster pack. This is getting re-rolled, so I guess it doesn't matter, does it? You may tap or untap target creature. When? The words of Mephistopheles ring through Faerun like a cold wind on ice. This card is a mess. This is the most mess we've seen, I think. That's amazing. That's a lot. Fairy Seer is a 3 mana, 2/2 black enchantment creature shapeshifter. Okay. Tap, you gain 1 life. For 4 mana, you gain 2 life. I think this is fine. It's like not super exciting, but I wish this had Changeling. Changeling being the keyword that lets something count as every creature type. It's just kind of like I kind of don't like Changeling. I think it's weird, but like, It's a fairy seer. I feel like it should count as a fairy. But I like the idea that it's a shapeshifter. That's kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, being able to consistently gain a life every turn, if you're in a life gain deck, that's relevant. That's totally relevant. I think you pay 3 mana for that. And then if you, for some reason, need some extra mana, you can spend 4 mana to gain 2 life. And that's relevant because it's repeatable, right? Even if you're tapped down, you can still pay that mana. So if you're in a deck that cares enough about life gain, that could be a relevant effect for you. End of the game, when you got more mana than you know what to do with, you gain an extra 2 life. Yeah. When a fairy seer speaks, she hears the visions of 1,000 possible futures, but her magic sees only the path of 1,000 possible choices. That's... I don't know if that's helpful, but okay, sure. Invisible Path is a 3 mana black instant. Target creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn, you gain 2 life. Okay, I don't really know what the flavor there is. Maybe the text will explain it to me, but yeah. I like the name Invisible Path for a spell. I think that giving something a +2/+2 buff can sometimes just be relevant. It's the difference between life and death if you're being targeted by like a damage-based removal or -X/-X. And then again, 2 life. Life gain sometimes matters. So having ways of activating life gain payoffs matters. I would like to see more life gain payoffs, not just activators, but you know, it's not nothing. The path is no longer visible. The path is no longer invisible. The Wanderer's Guide. Alright, I think that works. Let's see what's next. Lost Soul's Journey. Good name. 3 mana black enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature. If you do, put a 1/1 counter on Lost Soul's Journey. For 3 mana, target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Okay. So, for 3 mana, you get an enchantment that has the activated ability, 3 mana, something gets -1/-1 until end of turn. That's not terrible. That has use case, you know. It's a repeatable effect that doesn't cost a card in your hand every time. Cool. Additionally, at the beginning of your upkeep, you must sacrifice a creature. It's not a May ability. Now, if you don't have any creatures, that's fine. But if you do have creatures, they're dead. If you sacrifice a creature in this way, Lost Soul's Journey gets a +1/+1 counter on it. Which, like, Lost Soul's Journey, it sounds like there's some, like, build up. It's like, there was like a cycle of, like, quest cards, I think, that have quest counters on them in, that was Theros, right? I don't remember which Theros. One of the Theroses. And those were really cool, right? The idea of that sort of, like, you have to invest into this quest, and at the end of it, you get some effect. Cool. So this feels like Lost Soul's Journey feels like that kind of a thing, but it's just, like, not. It doesn't use the 1/1 counters ever. The only time it's relevant is if you did have another effect in the set that was, like, target enchantment becomes a creature with base, power, and toughness, XX, and gains haste or something. Like, that would be really cool. If that effect existed in this set, that's a legitimately cool effect, right? It's like, yes, it requires another card to activate it, but if that if there was a card which does activate it, that could tell a story over 2 cards, right? That's like something that Magic likes to do anyway, saying, like, we're going to tell the story by having these 2 cards that don't really, you don't have to play them together, but they're intended to go together. So this Lost Soul's Journey is slowly getting stronger and stronger. It's absorbing souls as you sacrifice creatures, and then eventually you go, boom, my enchantment with you know, 8 +1/+1 counters on it is suddenly a creature and it's attacking you and you can't do anything about it. That's cool. I'm into that. I just don't know if there's an activation. I don't think there's any activators. And the question becomes, is this good enough to play without an activator? I think the answer is no, because it's a forced. If this just said at the beginning of your upkeep, you may sacrifice a creature, this might be good enough. 3 mana, 3 mana with a 3 mana activation to wound something. I think I have to reroll it. I'm wasting way too much time over to thinking about these cards. Look to the forest, for in the shadows is where I go to play. Erebos. Yeah, I'm sorry. I am definitely over discussing a lot of these cards. Crown of Infinite Toxins, that's an amazing name, is a 3 mana black enchantment aura enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3, has lifelink, and doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. Oh. Huh. I kind of like this. I kind of like this a lot, actually. Now, so it has 2 modes, right? If my opponent has a creature that's already tapped down, like it attacked last turn, I cast this 3 mana on it. It doesn't untap during its controller's untap steps. Right? Period. It just doesn't do it anymore. So it's got +3/+3 and has lifelink, but it can't attack. It can't do damage. It can't heal. Like, what do I care? It's tapped down. forever until you get rid of this enchantment. And then if you get rid of this enchantment, it doesn't have the lifelink and the +3/+3 anymore. Or I put it on my own stuff, and I say, this is a dedicated blocker. I don't care that it doesn't untap during my untap step, because I'm never going to tap it. It's a wall with +3/+3 and lifelink, and it's just going to sit there as a defender for the rest of the game. That's kind of cool. I kind of like that. I don't know. I know it plays into my sensibilities and no one else's, but hey. Those who wear it soon forget what is poison and what is not. I like this card. This card is very much my jam. Cloudcaster Hoplite is a 1-mana 1/1 elf rogue. Okay. For 1 mana, Cloudcaster Hoplite gains flying until end of turn. This card is boring, but could be relevant. It's an elf, which might be relevant. It's a 1-mana 1/1, which is just sometimes you need those. And it can jump. It can gain flying. So it can chump block a flyer, which might save you a game or two. Yeah. You'd probably play it in limited. The strong defenders of Larkin swore never to let the magic touch their mountains. Then they forgot about that oath. Yeah, okay, that checks out. Nyxborn Razorback is a 2-mana 2/2 dinosaur. Yeah, we got another dinosaur. And yeah, in white I talked about how Gods of Winter had dinosaurs, Lords of the Rime had dragons, and this set hopefully would have both. And we have seen both. Visit with a dragon, right? So yeah, we're seeing dinosaurs and dragons. Very cool. Nyxborn Razorback is just a great name for a dinosaur. It's a 2-mana 2/2. Whenever Nyxborn Razorback attacks, another target attacking creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. I think that's pretty good. Yeah. If it attacks alone, it's a 2/2 for 2. If it attacks with something else, it's like a 4/2 for 2. But spread over across the second body. Cool. Gonna make sure all the Nyxborn know what it's like to have their teeth on edge. Azusa, solemn first descendant of the Ice Emperor. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Checks out. Darksteel Mutation is a 4-mana black instant. Destroy target creature with flying. You gain 1 life. Once again, we're seeing, or I guess I think first time for this set, but once again in the block, we are seeing flying hate. Unfortunately, this card is just bad. It's 4 mana, 4 removal, that can only hit flyers. And even if you wanted to use it just for the game 1 life, you couldn't because you have to target a creature with flying. It's not like up to 1 creature with flying. When shackled to a rail, waterlogged Thrasher keeps a toehold in a thin stratum of ice, lulled by its fellows' steady beat. Torrent of Lava. Torrent of Lava is a 4-mana black instant. Torrent of Lava deals 3 damage to any target. This is a 4-mana lightning bolt. I mean, it's worth pointing out, comparing to Lightning Bolt is not a great comparison, because that card is considered super flippin' strong, so whatever, but I think 2-mana Lightning Bolts are considered reasonable. 4-mana, not so much. The Colosseum glowed red and crackled as hundreds of geysers shot up into the air. Those lucky few who survived the ordeal received the title Hero of Enchantment. Wow. Flurry of Wings. I read ahead. Flurry of Wings is a 4-mana black instant. You may cast Flurry of Wings as though it had flash, meaning you may cast it anytime you could cast an instant. Draw a card. That's it. As every angel was denied wings to leave their earthly prison, I went above them and gave mine, for I found my angel wings within me. Archangel Tiberius. I mean, that sounded like a cool story. Cloaking Gale is a 4-mana black instant untapped target creature, cycling generic and black. When you cycle Cloaking Gale, you may pay 2. When you do, draw a card. Huh. So this is 4 mana, untapped target creature, which is, like, not good, but situationally useful. Or it's 2 mana, draw 1 card. Or it's 4 mana, draw 2 cards. Which, like, is a pretty flexible card, all things considered. Making me tempted to keep it. The thing is, like, if you wanted to do Spellslinger stuff, this is not a cantrip that counts. You are not casting an instant if you cycle it. There was that card that cared about cycling or discarding, though. I think we kept that card, so could be fun. Yeah. I think we kept that card. We might not have. That might have been one of those cards where, like, this would be decent at, like, 3 mana, but it's 8, so we're not going to keep it or something. But I think I'm going to keep this. It's flexible enough that the fact that it's not very strong, I think, seems okay. Even the jaws of hell crave a chance to open. Thrawn Master Mind Eater is a 4-mana, 2/3 black human wizard. It has Morph for 3. You may cast this card face down as a 2/2 creature for 3 mana. Turn it face up anytime for its morph cost. So, okay. The morph is relevant. Oftentimes the morph is more expensive than just playing the card, but here you get to play it for 3 and then turn it up for an additional 3 later, and you can maybe surprise somebody in a way that's relevant. I don't know. I haven't read what it does yet. When Thrawn Master Mind Eater is turned face up, each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. Okay. So this is either a 4-mana 2/3, bad, or it's a 6-mana 2/3 that, when turned face up, drains for 3. It's each opponent loses 3 life as well, not target. So that's something if you're playing multiplayer, I guess. But generally not very interesting. I'm gonna re-roll this. I don't think I need to. I think it's fine enough, but like it's almost like too complicated to not be good, if that makes sense. Like, that doesn't make sense. Whatever. Augury Priest is a 4-mana 2/2 zombie cleric. I like that so far. For 3 mana, return Augury Priest to its owner's hand. Activate only if you control no non-wall creatures. My god. No one will believe the horrors I saw in this temple. My reward is far greater than any honor that I can earn. Okay. I'm not dignifying that card. Carrion Crawler. Ooh, did we see a Carrion Crawler in the Forgotten Realms set? Because we should have. Carrion Crawler is one of my favorite monsters. It's such a good design. Carrion Crawler is a 4-mana 2/2 insect. As Carrion Crawler enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. As an additional cost to cast this spell, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card of that type, Carrion Crawler enters the battlefield with a number of 1/1 counters on it, equal to the revealed card's mana value. Okay, let's talk about this card. So it's 4-mana 2/2. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Okay. So it hasn't entered the battlefield yet. It's still on the way to the battlefield. But we haven't cast it yet. As an additional cost to cast this spell, reveal the top card of your library, period. Okay, so I cast this spell. I say I'm going to spend 4 mana to get this 2/2, and I am going to reveal the top card of my library, because that is one of the costs. I reveal the top card of my library. Then, as it's entering, I choose the card that I just revealed, because I revealed it before I had to do the as it enters. The ordering on this card is weird, but you cast a spell before it starts entering, right? The spell resolves and it starts to enter. I then choose the card that was revealed. I know it's there. Like, I don't need to hopefully guess correctly or anything. So I choose a creature type. If it's the card that was revealed is a creature card of that type. Now, it might not be a creature card. That's fair. But also, this says if it's, which makes me wonder, do I have to resolve this? Is that all one ability? If that's all one, like, trigger on the stack, then it would be as an additional cost to cast the spell, reveal a top card of your library. If it's a creature card of that type, but we don't know what the type is yet because we haven't decided the type, it enters the battlefield with a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the revealed card's mana value. I think what this actually is 4 mana. As an additional cost to cast a spell, reveal the top card of your mana of your library. If it's a creature, it enters the battlefield with a number of 1/1 counters on equal to the revealed card's mana value. And I kind of love that. Like, I'm into that. It's a 4 mana 2/2, which is bad. If the top card of your deck is a creature of mana value, I don't know, 4. This is a 6/6. So, this is, I'm once again in the position of, this card probably doesn't function as worded, because as an additional cost to cast a spell, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card of that type, current color is the battle for the number of counters on reveal the creature and the mana value. That's all one ability, so I think that all becomes one thing on the stack. So it asks you, hey, was it the right type? And you go, I don't know yet. I haven't chosen the thing yet. And it's like, well, you don't have a chance to choose because we're doing this at the time of casting. So you don't have time to choose the creature type, right? But if you wiggle the numbers a little bit, if you fudge it, I want to make this work. Why am I working so hard to make this work? Oh, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. It should be blue or something, but it's cool. I love black blue, though. Do I keep this? I feel like if you played this, most people would look at it and they'd go, this doesn't make sense. And I'd go, yeah, but like, this would be a cool interpretation, right? And they'd be like, yeah, I guess so. But also, that defeats the whole purpose of you choosing a creature type, because you're always going to guess right. And you go, yeah, I guess, but like, does that really matter that much? And they go, I guess not really. I'll just re-roll it. I'll just re-roll it. It wants nothing to do with its eggs. I'm also like running out of time. This show's gone way late, so. Heartbeat Carrier is a 4 mana 3/3 creature insect. Whenever Heartbeat Carrier or another creature you control dies, each player returns to the battlefield all creature cards from their graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn. Excuse me? Huh. I'm not sure about the timing windows of this card, but I'm into it. When it dies, which I think is before it hits the graveyard, right? It dies, then it goes to the graveyard. Those are 2 separate steps. So when it dies, you return all creature cards from the graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn. Cool. So it wouldn't return itself, so it doesn't just go infinite. But also that means that if it died in combat, I don't think anything else that died in combat would also come back, because they also go down into the grave. They hit the graveyard at the same beat, I think. I could be wrong. I'm not sure what the actual functionality of this is. I'd love to ask a judge. But I think that's right, and it's the kind of card that makes you go, that's probably strong. I don't know how to use it. You can probably do something with that. Let's try to figure it out. And that's like one of the joys of Magic, is trying to figure out how to make a card that looks interesting actually work. So let's keep it. Heartbeat Carrier, good name too. As any hive fell to the grinning hordes, its chitin shattered into 100 splinters. The insects abandoned the husk and departed for their nests. The spiders began weaving them into a new shell. Cool. Oh, I'm going way too slow. I should have stopped at blue. Parallax Maze is a 4-mana black instant. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. Draw a card. Beautiful. It's a 4-mana, draw 3. They're specifically from your graveyard. Cool. Love it. The truth is that the Devouring Ice was always coming for them. That's a very nice, short and sweet flavor text, actually. I quite like that. Mind Ravel is a 6-mana black sorcery. Target player discards 2 cards, draw a card. No, sorry, I'm gonna re-roll it. A Visionary asks only that the story be told from beginning to end. Let's see what we can do. World Fracturing Prowess is a 6-mana black sorcery. Each player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life, cycling 2. It's a very weak effect. Even having cycling, I don't think it saves it. Just because you have arrived at this point doesn't mean the path to greatness is through. Maphid Cologan Prelate. I'm sure I pronounced that wrong. World Spanning Collection is a 6-mana sorcery. Add white, white, or blue, blue. That's like kind of cool. 6 mana is way too much for that, but the idea of a ritual that doesn't actually give you more mana, it gives you less mana, but it lets you, like, switch the mana, like it's mana fixing only. It's kind of cool. I just haven't seen that before. It will be used as evidence. Okay. So, as we're finding in this set has a lot of high mana costs, and the AI is just not very good at that, so here we are. Carrion Plague is a 6-mana black sorcery. Carrion Plague deals 5 damage to target player or planeswalker. You gain 5 life. Is 5 enough for 6 mana? Maybe. I don't know. Seems good enough. It's a swing of 10. That's pretty good. I guess. I don't know. Sure. Your mistake was thinking you had won. Oracle on chat. I'll ope. Chuckle bark ing. That's very funny to me. Haha. Volrath Herald is a 4-mana, 4/3 creature beast. Volrath Herald can't block. Tap, put a -1 counter on target creature. Cool, I like it. It's a 4-mana, 4/3, which isn't great. It has a downside, which doesn't really need. And then it can put -1 counters on things, slowly kill something over time. That works. The Legend of Volrath continues in Wrath. Okay? Serpentine Symbiosis is a 6-mana black 2/4 enchantment creature Phyrexian snake. That's very cool. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, Serpentine Symbiosis deals 2 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. I don't think that's good enough for 6 mana. If it was a bigger body, I think it would be, but otherwise, I think no. But I think it's cool, and I kind of want it anyway. I'm going to reroll it. A world without life is no life at all. Wow, that's correct. Good. Yep, you're not wrong. Nosferatu Queen, that's an amazing name, is a 6-mana 5/4 enchantment creature vampire. It has flying. Nosferatu Queen can block only creatures with flying. Whenever a creature you control with flying dies, create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with flying. Okay, so that goes infinite, but like it's not expanding really, so it replaces all your flyers with flyers. But then those flyers, when they die, get replaced infinitely. So you don't lose your board size, but you're not gaining board size either. It's cool. I like it. The world becomes tainted when the body is cold. The dead linger, feeding on the living. That was actually a pretty good one. I'm actually really impressed with that 6-mana spell. Flourishing Charm is a 3-mana black sorcery. Search your library for up to 3 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. For 3 mana, that's probably too strong, but it's very cool, and I like it. A village of the Flanese grows wildflowers. We're actually going to reroll it, though. Me liking it does not mean I'm not going to reroll it. Let's keep going. Okay. Memnite is a 3-mana black sorcery. Gain control of target creature for as long as you control Memnite. You won't control Memnite for any longer than it takes for it to go to the graveyard. I don't think there's even a window of time that you could take advantage of that. You couldn't be like, I cast Memnite, I take control of your thing. Before Memnite hits the graveyard, I sacrifice it with an instant speed effect. I don't think you can do that, so this card is useless. I didn't read the flavor text. I apologize. That's weird. We made it! Searing Wind is a 3-mana black sorcery. Searing Wind deals 4 damage to target creature, and you gain 4 life. Wow, I just let through a 6-mana version of this effect for 5 mana. No, wait, for 5 damage and 5 life. Okay, this does hit creature instead of hitting face, so that is different. Yeah, no, I like it. Even in death, your love of justice shines bright. Olivia, Aurum Regent. I think that works. I think that works. Harrowed Regions is a 8-mana sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, exile a creature or planeswalker you control, exile the top card of your library, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. If this was an enchantment, because you can see that exile the top card of your library is a activation cost. It is not just part of the spell's resolution. If this was an enchantment, I think this is still bad. It has an additional cost to go into play. It costs 8 mana. And, okay, you can... Well, maybe not. Exile the top card of your library is a very cheap cost, right? That's very cheap. You just do it. Black. Now you have a 2/2. Yeah. Actually, if this was an enchantment, I think this is doable. Now, let's talk about this for a bit. I'm out of trying to go as fast as I possibly can mode. That was kind of fun. I should do that again sometime. But additional cost to cast a spell, exile a creature, or planeswalker you control. Fine. Cost 8 mana. That's a lot. I think it would be interesting. And this is kind of like multi-kicker, for example. Right? What I'm basically proposing is multi-kicker. But it would happen during the, I guess, the resolution instead of during the casting. So if it gets, like, countered, you would have time to... You wouldn't be out the multi-kicker cost. But what I'm saying is, this is a sorcery with an activated ability. How does that work? Well, you activate it as many times as you want during its resolution. And then afterwards, you can't do it again. Like, you're done. Your window has closed. I'm kind of okay with that. That's a cool idea. Again, that's not how sorceries actually work. But Urza AI makes sorceries with activated abilities all the time. It doesn't do it very often, but sometimes it does. I've seen it multiple times. And that's kind of cool, right? The idea of saying, okay, instead of being an enchantment and at instant speed, however, whenever you want, you can exile the top card of your library to make a 2/2. That's very strong. But a sorcery that says, exile as many cards as you want from your library and make that many 2/2s. You have to decide how many you're exiling now. That's kind of interesting. There's something to be said for that. Because then your opponent can be like, cool, I wrath the board. And you would still have the enchantment if this was an enchantment, but it's not. Like, I think there's potential for that kind of effect. And there is. It would be like a multi-kicker or something. But I don't know. I think this is perfectly reasonable templating for that effect. The rules just don't currently stand to allow for that effect. Anyway, you would get what I'm saying. Some fled the winter, never to return. Terrain Unveiling is an 8-mana black sorcery. Reveal the top 2 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the other into your graveyard. The green spark is pure, but our plan will change it. Droneth the Swamp Walker. Crusade of the Crusaders is an 8-mana black sorcery. Creatures you control get +3/+3 until end of turn. The Avacyn's lands and armies that dared to defy her spread her call to arms across Ravnica. Gideon's Colors is an 8-mana black sorcery. Gideon's Colors deals X damage to target creature and you gain X life. X is not defined. Don't think about me as a human. Think of me as a frozen gem of pristine purity. Narset. Okay. Journey to Onhala. That's actually really... I kind of like that. Instead of Valhalla, it's Onhala, like Onvek, which we see all the time. 8 mana, sorcery, black. Return 3 target artifacts you control to their owner's hands. Not very good. Madness 2. If you discard this card, discard it into exile. When you do, cast it for its madness cost or put it into your graveyard. That's interesting. So for 2 mana, return 3 target artifacts you control to their owner's hands. If this card's effect was okay, if it was just kind of fine, the madness might have saved it. But it's completely useless. Temporarily hidden from view, we have only the promise of one more glimpse of that beauty. Raistlin. Raistlin? Raistlin. Embrace of the Icefire. 8 mana, sorcery. Each player draws 3 cards. Those who dare journey to the frozen world of Wrath face an uncanny winter and a bleak future. I should have just kept that one card that was broken. I should have just kept that broken card and said, nope, this is how I'm ruling it. I'm changing my rules. Undercity Patrol is an 8 mana black sorcery. Destroy target non-basic land. Undercity Patrol deals 3 damage to any target. The marshy wastes and secret bunkers of Undercity were home to those who couldn't abide the company of others. If this just said destroy target land, I'd allow it. I'd be like, you know what? It's way too expensive. You'd never play it. We weren't trying to have... The goal was to not have any land removal in the set anyway. Why not? Here's an 8 mana land removal spell. But non-basic really kind of hurts it. It doesn't need that drawback. It's already stupid overcosted. Thanks everyone for hanging out. I'm just rolling this last card. I haven't said that. It's the last black card. That's why I've sort of slowed down. You okay there? You doing all right? That was weird. Let's try again. That didn't work. On the Fault Line is an 8 mana black sorcery. Destroy target land. Its controller loses 2 life. Urza's AI heard me. They're like, oh, is that all I gotta do? I just gotta make a destroy target land spell? Cool, here you go. And, I mean, alright, okay. I knew there was a way to make my way to the sacred snows. Somewhere between here and there was the route I would need to take. 2-headed dragon, adventurer. That brings us to the end of today's episode. That was all the blue and the black cards. I'll see you next time for red. Maybe also green. I don't know. Please consider subscribing. I'm a growing channel, and I'd really like to grow more. Ha 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 ha. I always feel weird plugging myself. But also, if you've only checked out the Urza's AI videos, I'm also running a D&D game with Urza's AI inspired elements. That doesn't really mean much, but it's there if that interests you. And I hope you all have a great night. I've been DarcyBits. So check it there. Woo! Outro nailed! I'll catch you next time. Ah! That was so long. I messed up. I should not have done that. Thank you for hanging out, Bonsai. I gotta go. Bye.